Salve omnibus. When I started my channel, I wanted it to originally focus primarily on what I saw and still see as the worrying introduction of progressive racial politics within the Christian community. And while I recognize that perhaps YouTube isn't the best platform to address this, considering who my audience will likely be comprised of, that is people who are either not Christians or Christians who already agree with me on these issues, I've branched out to examine other things. But I think by now I've realized that the direction of my channel seems to be to take a critical look at the skeptic community and their brand of modern liberalism. And it seems that I may have made my channel at the right time, because by the time my channel reached a substantial number of followers, which thank you everyone for supporting me thus far, the skeptic community seems to be completely falling to freaking pieces. Spinosauruskin and Edgy Sphinx both shot off in their own directions, Thunderfoot and Sargon had a falling out, most recently Naked Ape renouncing his atheism has driven the atheists insane, and the community is, as I said in my End of the Skeptic Community video, stagnating as well as fracturing. They're not really generating any new ideas, or have any solutions to the problems that we face. And well, because they form the backbone of the anti-progressive channels on YouTube, I'm a bit worried that the SJWs are going to realize their isolation and start going after them one by one. And also, I think what people like me, the Distributist, and Mauritian Struggle have been trying to do with our respective channels is to offer an alternative voice and view to the skeptic secular liberalism to those who oppose progressives. And this sucks because I have all these game reviews planned out that I want to do, especially on Nier Automata, a project that's got to be way more fun and profitable than yelling at the skeptics. But Kraut had to open his big mouth and bigger ego, didn't he? So for anyone who's unfamiliar with all this, Kraut is a skeptic YouTuber originally from Germany who, in recent months, has turned his attention to attacking the alt-right. A lot of this started with his falling out with the YouTuber Edgy Sphinx once he realized that this person who he used to collaborate with and promoted on his channel held alt-right views. Now, unlike a normal person who would say, well, I disagree with this, but we can actually have a conversation, Kraut and Spinosauruskin flew into a massive tirade against the alt-right and Edgy, this coming after Edgy had deleted his own channel and thus could not respond to him. Months later, Kraut went after Rage After Storm, another YouTuber who expressed her belief in race realism. In this instance, Kraut tried to contact her employers to get her fired, and after the expected backlash against Kraut's attempted doxing, Kraut made a video trying to recuse himself rather than actually just own up to what he did, and it completely backfired. Fast forward a month and Kraut is at it again, this time attacking the alt-right's use of R and K-type terminology when talking about race and reproduction. Now that Kraut and T wanted to go after the alt-right at some point isn't surprising to me. As someone who used to avidly watch his channel, he's stated numerous times in live streams and videos about how he wanted to start criticizing the alt-right and focus on them. But from his tone back then, it seemed like he wanted to do a much more thoughtful and lighthearted jab at them, take the piss out of them for saying he's part of the master race because he's German. But as I think we've seen, what should have been a fairly enjoyable and level-headed series of videos on the alt-right has turned into emotional temper tantrums, virtue signaling, and self-aggrandizement in which Kraut has made himself look like an egotistical crazy person. And I think this is the core of Kraut's problem. Why he gets so mad, irrational, and unpleasant when he makes these videos. It's pride. It's plain old pride and hubris. When I look at Kraut's videos against the alt-right, I see a man trying to demonstrate to the world how much better he is than the people he disagrees with. And the result is a video formula that just shows how prideful Kraut's become. His videos, especially those against the alt-right, are littered with unnecessary and mean-spirited ad hominems against his opponents, personal anecdotes that go nowhere and just try to announce how great he is, long rants attacking a straw man he's researched thoroughly but is only vaguely connected to the topic, and all of it read with a tone of utmost indignation. And do you know who else displays this behavior? Do you know who else has this "how dare you" attitude, and who will resort to underhanded and slimy actions just to damage their ideological opponents, who won't engage with them respectfully or reasonably, and who gets overly emotional about people and ideas they just disagree with? Social justice warriors. Kraut may differ in some views with the progressives, but his behavior is almost identical. Now, the reason why I don't want to go into detail exactly about where Kraut went wrong in his video about RK theory is twofold. Number one, another channel, Mauritian Struggle, already addressed the main point better than I could, that Kraut entirely missed the point that the alt-right uses the terminology metaphorically. So please check out his video and channel. And number two, I don't actually see the point. Kraut and T is having another temper tantrum against the alt-right who, every time he's gone after them, it's totally backfired and embarrassed him. And this is going to continue happening until he either learns humility or fades away. And in a way, I see this happening to the rest of the skeptics. They're comfortable criticizing feminism, they're comfortable criticizing Islam, and they're comfortable upholding their liberal values and commitment to reason and science, so long as they don't experience any real pushback. But when groups like the alt-right or reasonable theists begin asking them difficult questions, when they start giving them hard facts and arguments that go against their worldview, they lash out. I think this explains both why the skeptics don't seem to be able to effectively engage the alt-right, and why, even 10 years after the new atheist movement, will flip out when people defend their belief in God. The skeptics are becoming obsolete, and they seem to be lashing out at people who can provide a better alternative to them. So, what can we learn from this? How do we not end up like Kraut? How do we, as anti-progressives on YouTube, avoid what's happening to the skeptics? And while I think that's a much broader topic than I want to address in this video, I think we can start with understanding and living out humility. And so to end, here's a little clip about humility that I think can explain it better than I ever could. Diabana.
You will not be able to master lightning until you have dealt with the turmoil inside you.
What turmoil?
Zuko, you must let go of your feelings of shame if you want your anger to go away.
But I don't feel any shame at all. I'm as proud as ever.
Prince Zuko, pride is not the opposite of shame, but its source. True humility is the only antidote to shame.
Wir wollen unseren alten Kaiser Wilhelm wieder. Wir wollen unseren alten Kaiser Wilhelm wieder. Aber den mit dem Bart, mit dem langen Bart. Aber den mit dem Bart, mit dem langen Bart. So schwärmten unsere Eltern von der guten alten Zeit. Sie liegt so fern und weit, die alte Kaiserzeit. Doch war sie wirklich besser, diese gute alte Zeit, als einst der Opa, die Oma hat wohl gefeit. Ja, mit Jagdgesang und mit Hörnerklang, rings um Fair Berlin, durch die Wälder ziehen. Ja, mit Jagdgesang und mit Hörnerklang, ritt die Oma mit dem Opa. Doch sie hielten an und küssten sich, sonst wären wir